welcome to the Good Talk Podcast, where we remind you of the joy of life, the love of God, and the possibilities that lie ahead. Pete and Jordyn here with episode 72.
4 things I'm still learning not to do. Is this coming from your perspective, I'm guessing?
It is.
In your life?
4 things right now that I'm still learning not to do.
Okay, that's good. I already know I need it.
And I would encourage everybody else to
do an audit.
Continue to struggle to not do these things as well.
Okay. All right. I'm good.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I feel like I have pistachios in my teeth. I just had a bunch of.
Okay, if you start cleaning your teeth into the microphone, I will throw off my headphones and quit. I'm done. Y'all, I forget what it's called. If you listen to this podcast. You were
annoyed with me earlier when I was eating the pistachios.
If you've listened to this podcast for any length of time, you've heard me talk about my, it's not a disorder. I don't know what it is. It's disorder. There is an actual word for it, but it is the complete inability to listen to somebody chew their food or make mouth noises.
And I'd like to be clear. It's not like I have poor eating hygiene. Is that a word or a phrase?
Etiquette probably would be the better word.
Etiquette. No, I eat food normal.
Yeah, he's not rude about it. He closes his mouth sometimes, but we were watching something on Monday night and you went and got a bag of popcorn, which you never do. You never eat after dinner. It's that's your thing. And you got a bag of popcorn he didn't stop, y'all. It was from start to finish, just shoveling popcorn, and it's so crunchy, and he's licking his fingers, and it's just and I know that sounds
the butter and salt. I love the butter and salt.
So normal.
And I had to move all the way to the far end of the couch
to save our marriage,
as far away as I possibly could be with her. Listen, y'all, it's a rough life I live. If I want to eat a few chips, I have to go into our closet and shut the door so that I can eat a couple chips in peace without getting the stank eye from you.
You're for sure exaggerating. I'm not that crazy, but it is a lot. I wish I didn't. I wish it wasn't my life. I remember the first day it annoyed me in 4th grade. Jennifer was eating her goldfish, and from then on, it's I can't listen to loud, crunchy noises. And it's only bad with the people close to me. Other people, if we're at dinner, I really don't even notice it unless your mouth is open. But it's weird. It's only close.
See, that's very telling. I'm going to psychoanalyze the crap out of that.
Great. I hate being married to a life coach sometimes. What is your pet peeve of mine?
Oh, that's easy. It's your Diet Coke cans. For some reason, this woman is highly intelligent, highly capable of accomplishing anything in the world that she puts her mind to, except for getting a Diet Coke can to actually go into the trash.
So
it's it's like a Diet Coke scavenger hunt around our house. You'll find them all kinds of places, on ledges, tables, underneath chairs. It's everywhere.
Okay. Well,
what is it about the Diet Coke can that you can't?
Can I explain myself?
Sure.
Usually there's a little bit left, and I'm I'll go back for that little bit.
There's always. Every Diet Coke can there's always a little bit.
I always think I'm going to go back for it. The ones that are left in my car are left there because I have to get out and go get pepper, and then I have my hands full, so I can't the Diet Coke can.
I knew you were going to drag pepper into this, but this was going on long before pepper was on the scene.
It's just worse though, because again, I'm putting things down, I'm cleaning up after her, anyways. So you chew and I leave cans.
I'm gonna every time I see a Diet Coke can, I'm gonna grab a handful of chips. I'm gonna crunch the heck out of those chips while I'm throwing away your Diet Coke.
You should start a social media campaign where you just take a picture of every can I leave and everybody follows along on how terrible I am, because you're actually realize I'm not that bad. And then I'll submit your video of chewing. Anyways, okay. 4 things you're learning not to do.
Yeah, you want me to jump into
chewing loudly.
That's not on the list.
Okay, all right.
It did not make the list. Okay, 4 things. And obviously, I struggle. There's more than 4 things that I probably need to quit.
Yeah.
But these are 4 things I'm really learning hard not to do these things.
Okay.
Number 1, manage other people's reaction.
To not manage other people's reaction.
I'm trying hard to learn not to manage other people's reaction. Okay. And here's the deal. We've talked about this quote many times because it just blows my mind every time I talk about it. It's that Charles Cooley quote, who's a brilliant sociologist, by the way. But he said, you're not, or basically he phrased it a little different. He said, I am not who I think I am. I am not who you think that I am. I am who I think you think I am.
Yeah, we've talked about that quote before on this podcast.
It's crazy. It's like most of us reduce ourselves down to like, and we're 2 or 3 things. It's just this illusion that we've created in our mind of what we think somebody thinks about us by the way they react to us or they react to something we create. And I'm just learning to do my best teaching, to do my best writing, to do my best coaching. I have to stop pretending that I can somehow predict how somebody's going to react.
What does that look like day to day?
Well, for me, it's just coming to that realization. I don't have to manage the reaction. The reaction, honestly, is none of my business. And the moment I start trying to create something, let's say I'm writing something, it could be as simple as a quote that I'm going to throw up on Instagram. I start to play through, well, I wonder what this group of people would think about this. And I wonder how are they going to, like, I'm trying to manage reactions before I even put something out there into the universe.
Right.
Like, and it doesn't make sense. That I think the moment that you start trying to create stuff for your critics, you're done. Your art is, whatever it might be, it's
just diluted. Vanilla. Yeah, it's diluted because you're no longer being uniquely you. You're uniquely you for other people, which is not you. It's so true. I was like lately thinking about that with social media. I've like tried to get better at like posting reels and stuff because I had those 2 like weird ones that just blew up. And I'm like, oh, cool, let's do more of this. And like the others don't blow up, right? And I found myself thinking, I wonder if people think I'm like all of a sudden weird for posting more, or they think I'm trying too hard, or they think and I'm like, you know what? No, like this is fun for me. And if it's genuinely me just out there like enjoying it and having fun, then do it. And it actually, that's the stuff that works.
Yeah. And really, there's two levels of this. There's the disease of trying to guess what somebody's reaction is going to be. And then even after they react, trying to manage that reaction. I don't think either one of the 2 things are our business. Certainly, you can't guess what somebody's reaction is going to be to something.
Yeah.
It should really come down to, is this true? Is this what I want to do?
Right.
Do I believe this? And do that.
Right.
It's like, for all of you listening, some people are going to love your leadership style. Some won't, right? Some people are going to love the content you create. Some won't. Some people are going to love your new idea, but most won't. And it has nothing to do with your idea. It has to do with the fact that most people just don't like change, even good change.
Yeah, I was going to say, so a lot of times their reaction is their own problem. And then all of a sudden you're taking in their baggage into your life. Like if someone doesn't like, the change you're making, or like, what was the last one you said? It was like leadership. Your new idea. If they don't like your idea, it's likely because they feel self-conscious that they didn't have that idea, or that, why you're stifling yourself so much by existing for other people. And that doesn't mean, I always like throw this out there because there are people that will come back and be like, but you have to like care for other people. Yes, of course, you care for other people. You love other people well, you invite them into your life. But as far as like your existence and your truth, living that out without worrying what everybody else is going to think is I think is the most true thing you can do.
I agree. Yeah, I'm not advocating that you just become a first-class jerk and do whatever you want to do. And you never think about how it impacts other people. I'm just saying you can't manage their reaction. And there's so much freedom when you give up the need to always be understood. And that was my thing. I always felt like when people reacted in a way that I didn't want them to react, it meant I had to dive into that and massage that and get them to think the way I think. I don't. It's okay if they totally misunderstood the quote. It's okay if they understood my intention in this or in that. Like, it's not my job to always go back and manage that.
And they're not giving you the same decency and respect to ask you questions and dive into that with you. It's more like they're throwing an assumption at you. So then you catch that assumption and live in that assumption. Whereas, like, if those people were truly, like, people involved in your life, it would be like, hey, let's talk about that. Let's ask questions. Instead, it's like we're just living in these like, oh gosh, they think this, I live this way. Like, I don't know. I just think there's so much freedom and you've done a lot of work in that. And I feel like I've done a lot of work in that too, where you can just be like, oh, that's what you think. You're going to throw that at me without even caring to know more about it. Then I'm not going to spend more time trying to explain myself.
So I'm learning not to try to manage other people's reactions. The second thing is I'm trying to learn not to obsess about my failures. And we talked about this a little bit actually last week on the podcast, this idea of failure. And I actually said, I don't think failure is something you do. I think failure is something you think. You labeled something that happened. You maybe missed the mark. It didn't come out the way you thought. You label it as a failure. You think that it's failure. But what if you labeled it as lesson learned? What if you labeled it as improvement, right? So I really do believe failure is not something you do. It's something you think. But I tend to believe that for everybody.
Except for you.
But for me. And I tend to obsess about it. And there's this, I've used this illustration a couple times lately because Pepper, I don't know if we've talked about Pepper learning to walk. Have we talked about that?
I don't know.
On the podcast?
In some avenues. I know. Yeah. I don't know if it's been on the podcast.
Some other content stuff where we talked about it. But so Pepper, our 1-year-old, has just started walking the past couple weeks. And we celebrate her steps in huge ways. Like at first it was one step. She took one step and we go nuts. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And she takes 3 steps. We go nuts over that. And of course, at the end of every one of these tries, she falls. 1 step, she falls. She takes 2 steps, she falls. 3 steps. Now she's taken like a dozen steps, but she still always falls at the end. Like it's rarely that she just gracefully walk up somewhere and sit down.
Yeah.
But the thing I've thought about so much is we're celebrating the steps. We're not worried about our falls. We know that's just part of the process, right? We focus on the steps. We celebrate the steps. We forget about the falls.
And the falls help her learn, right?
For sure.
She walks and falls and she goes, oh, and then learns, oh, I just stand back up and I'm going to keep walking. It's not, again, not to ignore falls and not to like take those falls and just throw them away and say, well, that's never going to that's doesn't exist. It exists and it exists for a reason to learn and to grow and to continue. But it's the same way. Like for her, those falls help her learn, and in our lives, they help you learn, but they're not your identity. Like she didn't stop walking because she fell once. And that's what we are so tempted to do as people is I failed at that, or I failed at the attempt and I'm just going to stop. Like it doesn't make sense when you look at it in the form of a baby walking. You're like, well, why would you stop? Like you got to do that. It's the same in life. Like we are so like ingrained in our minds that these falls are failures, which means we shouldn't have tried to begin with. And I think if we just were to enter our lives and our situations with the knowing that we're going to fall and the confidence and courage to get back up, I just think we would do a lot more things.
Yeah. Learn from the fall. You don't have to ignore it. At the same time, don't obsess about it. You got to get back up and take another step. And Pepper's really inspired me in that. And I try to think of, when she falls, her thing is she goes, ugh. And that's how I'm gonna fail at something later on today, I'm sure. I just want to go, ugh. And then get right back up and move on because that's what she does. And I love that.
This reminds me of the first point, because when you do fall, there are going to be people after you stand back up that are like, hey, do you remember when you fell? Do you remember that time? Do you remember that time? You're going to fall again. Or why are you even standing? You don't even deserve to be standing because you fell. Like going back to that number one of you can't manage other people's reactions of you. So it's like you've got to just keep trucking, like standing up. Don't worry what other people think and keep going.
Just keep trucking.
Just keep swimming.
I want to get that on the shirt.
That sounds so
just
redneck.
Keep trucking.
No, we're not doing that.
Okay. Third thing I'm learning not to do is pretend I don't care when I do care. And you know where I do that the most often, I've noticed, is so I tend to kind of be a perfectionist in certain areas of my life. And I think pretending not to care when I do care is a defense mechanism. It's almost a shortcut for me when I feel like I'm not hitting the mark. This kind of ties in with the last one a little bit. But it's like, I'll use an example from this week. Remember I was trying to do that reel? I hate reels, Joe. I'm just going to come right out and say, I hope someone from Instagram's listening right now. I hate reels, but they've rigged the whole darn system now.
On Instagram, if you're not familiar.
You have to do reels. That's all they serve up to people, and it's so annoying. I'm so mad at you, Instagram. But okay, I'm moving on.
Lord.
So I'm trying to learn to do reels, and I hate them. It takes a lot of work. And remember, I tried to do that one earlier this week and got back, and it stunk. It was terrible. Camera was all shaky. I didn't like what I said. The whole thing. And I deleted it. I scrapped it, right? And so I immediately go into the attitude of, just like I just did now, I don't care about reels. I hate reels. They're stupid. I'm done.
Yeah. And then you started getting on my train and like, oh, I know a couple years worked, but it's just dumb. I'm like, okay. Thanks.
But what I do care about is reaching people with what I believe can be encouraging, life-changing content. And if that is the way that it happens these days, if that is my best route to deliver to the most people, encouraging, engaging, life-changing content, then I got to dig in and figure it out and not be paralyzed by my perfection.
Yeah. So pretend I don't care. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to stop pretending that I don't care about it. I do care about it, right? And I just say that sometimes
It's a defense mechanism.
as a defense mechanism.
I'm trying to think of like other examples in your life where you feel like you do that, where you act like you don't care, but you do.
Sometimes with people. Mm-hmm. Like if there's somebody that I feel like is maybe rejecting me in some way, I'll pretend like I don't care about that person. Mm-hmm. And maybe I deeply do care about that person. But again, it's a defense mechanism, so I don't have to feel all that.
Yep.
It really comes down to being honest with yourself about what you're really passionate about, who you're passionate about, and just be honest about that. Not use this pretending you don't care thing as some kind of defense mechanism, because maybe right now, currently, you're not real good at it, or maybe the relationship isn't in a great spot. So we immediately jump to these defense mechanisms like, I don't care about them anyway. I don't care about that job. I don't care about whatever.
Mm-hmm. And what do you do with that?
You got to push through it, and you got to be honest about what you are passionate about. Mm-hmm. Actually, I do care about delivering engaging, life-changing, encouraging content to as many people as I possibly can.
Yeah. Or I really do care about that person. I need to dig in and see what. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Did you get it?
I got it.
Okay.
Took me a second. Number 4.
And then when you grab my notes, you're looking at my notes like, what? What's he talking about?
Originally, I thought you said pretend that I want to stop pretending that I care when I don't care.
Oh,
and I was like, I do that at the nail
did.
salon all the time. Like, oh yeah, you have 4 kids. Cool. You know, when you really don't care. I get it though.
All right.
Okay. Number 4.
You saying you don't care about the people at the nail
I
salon?
do care, but like, I also don't care what they had for breakfast that morning.
Oh.
You know,
Okay.
whatever.
I got it.
Maybe I do. I don't know. Number 4.
Number
now
4.
I sound like a jerk.
Fourth thing that I'm still learning not to do is assume to know people's intentions or the reason behind their behavior.
This is what I do, isn't it?
We both do. I think most human beings struggle at some level with this.
Oh, I do it all the time.
I think that I assume I know people's intentions and the reason behind their behavior. Listen, I don't want to. I think I put this on Instagram recently. I don't want to waste any energy making false assumptions about people I've never met, circumstances I've never known, and events I have never experienced. Mm-hmm. Why in the world would I use my mental energy and my actual time to make assumptions about people I've never met, circumstances I don't know, and events I've never experienced? What this world needs is less assumptions and accusations and more empathy and more kindness.
Mm-hmm. That's really good. I do this all the time. Like I think if you have ever gone through a season in your life where you like, I'm not going to say the word failed, but like maybe there was shame around something in your life or whatever. Sometimes that shame carries through to a lot of pieces of your life. And you, in some subconscious way, think you're not good enough for whatever that circumstance, like whatever that was about. And so, like, I remember there were seasons where people would reach out to me when I was going through my divorce, and I just assumed, oh, you just want a story. You just want my story. You just want to, like, gossip. You want, But really, maybe they were reaching out to be kind, not even give them a chance. So anyway, I think that is carried on in small ways. And especially in my people-pleasing ways. Yeah. Like I just assume, oh, if I act this way or if I say this thing, they're going to, think that I'm whatever, and so I shape everything around that. And so it kind of goes back to that first point you have where it's just kind of not managing not taking that on. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I got on a rant about this yesterday. If you remember, read an article about a pastor. He's not a friend. I've met him before, but seems like just a great dude who's taken an extended sabbatical right now to get healthy in some areas of his life. And I knew I should not have read the comments. I knew better, but I got sucked into it. And I'm reading dozens and dozens and dozens of comments from people who, by the way, the vast majority of them don't even live in the same state as this guy.
Yeah.
They don't attend the church that he pastors, and they definitely don't know him or his circumstances or why he's taking an extended break to make sure he's healthy. And everybody is jumping in, filling in the gap with all these salacious accusations about why he needed a break and the areas of his life where he probably needs to get more help. Like, it's like, what are we doing here?
Why do we feel invited into that discussion?
Right. I mean, why would any of us make any assumptions that we know the intentions or what's going on in that situation?
Yeah.
And again, like, why would we waste so much time?
Because it
makes
people feel somehow like they're better, right? And
Yep.
you're not having to think about your own crap for a second. And I guess that's why most of that happens. But it is nauseating, and it's like it goes back to that same stupid like thing you learn in first grade, the golden rule, like treat others how you want to be treated. If you were in that position, you'd be like, oh well, I would never get in that position. Okay, whatever. But if you like were in that position, would you want someone like knocking on your door and telling you how terrible you are? And like, no. And you said something the other day. You said you can't shame someone into action. And all they're doing is shaming. They think he should change.
Yeah.
Like what? Like
You cannot shame someone into action. Shame just leads to acting.
Yes.
To pretending.
Yeah.
And so again, but I'm also guilty of this at times, right? It's not just the comments I read yesterday. I want to get to a place where I no longer assume to know people's intention or the reason behind their behavior. Now, I want to add a little caveat here. I know we're running out of time, but in some situations, right, anytime you're in a relationship with people, there are going to be moments where they create a gap, right? And if you actually know them, I think the appropriate thing would be to try to resolve that gap, right? Sit down with them and say, hey, there's a little gap that's been created in our relationship. I don't know what your intentions were behind this. I don't know what your motivations were behind this. I was wondering if you could help me fill in the gap here. That's a different thing.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not talking about sweeping everybody's actions or behaviors
under a rug.
A rug. No. I'm just saying, if you don't know them, it's none of your business. Don't waste your time and energy talking about it. If you do know them, then sit down with them.
Yeah.
Say a gap's been created. Can we work on closing this gap instead of just writing them off or allowing because anytime a gap gets created in a relationship, distance is going to happen, at least emotionally, right? So you want to address with that. So
That's good.
Yep. Just if you don't know them, assume there's a whole lot more to the story that you don't know and move on and don't waste your time trying to figure it out.
Gosh, there's so many better things to spend your time on. I mean,
hey, catch me. When I do this, call me out on this.
When you spend your time.
If I start making assumptions about somebody's behavior or their intentions, just call me out on it.
Okay. Even my own?
No, because I know you and I'm going to try to close the gap.
Close the gap. I was testing you there. Oh, that's good. I like that stuff. That's all super like in my world too. So hopefully that's helpful to everybody else.
It may resonate with people that those 4 things, maybe 4 things you struggle. Here's my encouragement to you though, is to create your own list of the things you're still learning not to do. I regularly coach my coaching clients with this question of what are you currently tolerating that you shouldn't be tolerating? And that's really what leads to things like this for me. Like me tolerating the fact that I waste my time making assumptions about people's behaviors or intentions, right? I'm tolerating that. I don't want to tolerate that in my life. I want to live this created, purposeful life. And there's things that I'm doing right now that I'm still learning not to do. And I want to keep working on not doing those things.
Yeah, that's good. I think a lot of times you focus in life on things you should be doing. You're like, oh, I need to do this. I need to do this. But it's also really interesting to audit of the things that you don't need to do so that you have room for the things you want to do.
Yeah.
Even mentally, emotionally.
For sure. What are you tolerating in your life right now that you know you should not be tolerating?
It's good. Thank you. Super helpful.
Thank you, Miss Jordyn. I cannot wait to get off this podcast and go grab some chips.
Oh,
maybe
no.
some popcorn. I think that's what I'm going to have for lunch is chips, popcorn, and some more pistachio nuts.
I'm gonna see my way out. I'm gonna go to Chick-fil-A by myself, and I'm gonna enjoy that piece.
Well, thank you guys for
Yeah.
listening as always. Please subscribe, share. It means the world to us and allows us to get what we hope to believe, some encouraging content out to other people.
Yes. And if you want to see Pete continue to improve in his reels, follow him on Instagram at P Wilson, PWILSON.
You're trying to loop me into where I can't quit.
I know, exactly. Yeah, no, I believe in you. You can do it. Continue to do it. But yes, please like, subscribe, share. It's super helpful. We have a lot of people encouraging us with, hey, I sent this to my friend the other day and it really helped. And so that's why we do this thing. Like, we set this podcast up in our living room every week. We're just talking about this, and
Move all this stupid
we
furniture.
move our furniture around every single week for this, and we do it genuinely because we really just hope it's helpful. And I know that there were seasons in our lives where I wish we had just encouragement being whispered into our ears a little bit more, and a lot of times you don't seek that out in those seasons. So sharing that with people is super helpful. Yeah. So. All right. Well, I hope you have some good chips later. And that was another
Good talk.